Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're looking at something a little bit vintage, an ACETRONIC MPU1000. It is a games console from, I'm not sure, I need to double check the era, I'm thinking Atari 2600 era, so probably 1970s, late 1970s, but look at the controllers on that. How good do they look? So I bought it 40 off eBay, and it is tuning into the TV, but it's not coming up with anything. It either comes up with a garbled screen or a white screen, and when I plug the game in, it's not doing anything either. So let me get the camera on a tripod and show you what it's doing. So if I turn it on here, you will see it's just like a garbled mess. Yep. And if I put the game in, this looks like it's 10 games, it says here. Grand Prix. Well, actually, it's just going to be the one game Grand Prix with different ones on that. Just like, you know, you get Pong and then you get tennis, but essentially it's just the same thing. You might just have like two moving up and down rather than one, etc. Turn it on there. If you have a look, it's not happy. So something's not quite right. Let me bring it over to the blue mat and show you the listing. Let's see if we can work out what's going on with it. So this is the listing here, and I paid, I think it was roughly about £19. It was up for £15. I put an offer in at £12, and then I had to pay the postage on top of that. And it just says down on it, it says test it, and I think power is getting to the unit as the RF output goes from white noise to wobbly, very fuzzy black-white image, which is what I've seen. Have not tested the PSU with a multimeter, so I don't know which pins provide voltage. Spares or repair only. So that's the write-up there. Right, what's it say here? Use only with special mains adapter supplies with mains unit made in Hong Kong. Sound control. Weird. Okay, I don't know whether that changes volume or pitch or something. British design registered number. And there's loads of different patents here. Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Venezuela. Fantastic. Now I believe that there was loads of different models, loads of different brands of the same kind of inside. Now what I did read is that just read this now. Apparently it doesn't play from the cartridge. The cartridge gets loaded onto the internal RAM and then it plays it from there. And it said that you have to hit, this was just one website, it said you have to hit load program twice. So it could be as simple as that, but remember it didn't play. I think this has internal built-in games as well, and when we turned it on it didn't bring up that game. So surely it should bring up the internal games without having to load the program. That must be when we just put the cartridge in and hit the load program. So we definitely know that there's something happening on the screen. So let's check the voltages going in. Let's have a look on the inside, see what it looks like. It might be just a case that it needs a clean, and for example maybe even the RF jack here. I mean, it all looks okay, but maybe it could do with a clean. It might not be anything too major. I'm thinking it's going to be more a kind of RF problem than anything else. We've got various little burn marks around the place there, and also here and here. And I think that's from where it's probably been wrapped up with the cable, and it's had some kind of, I mean, I don't know if we were to look across here whether we'd find it, but I think it's had some reaction between the different plastics. Right, while I'm taking it back off this, let's give a shout out to the My Mate Vince Massive. And this month they consist of kitdigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Having Fun Repairs, Edensburg Amplifier Repair and Service, Will Michaelis, Chris Seal, Felipe at MrKeeps.com, King Kurd from Lowbook Auto Sales, DJ VG, Robert from Timsy's Auto Air, and Albert at www.faroutsounds.co.uk. So thank you guys. Now in case you haven't watched my videos before, I've never taken this apart, I've never played with one of these before. This is a trying to fix video. I don't know how it's going. Smells good. That's the best smell of old electronics I have had since I was a kid. Oh, that's amazing. If you could bottle that, I wouldn't have to do YouTube videos. I could just sit back, license out the smell, live off the royalties. Again, weird. Another kind of burn. Another burn mark here. 100% proof it is definitely a reaction with the plastic, because you see here, the cable here, that black cable there has burnt into there. Right. Okay. So it looks like we've had some kind of modifications or something in the factory. I wonder why that wasn't just designed into the circuit board. That screw was just me there now, wasn't it? Oh, there you go, look. It's there, written there as well. Radio fin. It's amazing how cheap these consoles are just because they're not collectible. And, well, maybe the gameplay is not very good. But it's certainly, the outside of it certainly looks charming. And I mean, I don't think anybody can argue how nice they look. Right, we've got more dust there. Right, what have we got going on here? We've got a ribbon cable that is soldered to the board. So I can't actually move that anymore now. I'll have to undo these buttons, but I have to undo these buttons anyway because this game select is completely jammed. So that clicks, but game select does nothing. We've got a nasty crack. You'll see it in a minute when I take it out, but can you see there's a big crack through here. That ribbon cable's in a really awkward spot. Oh, we got green on that capacitor there as well. Maybe it's a capacitor issue. That one. One more to do, but it's the most awkward one. If the ribbon cable breaks, it won't be the end of the world because I will be able to cut it back and just expose the wires again. But it'd be easy if I can leave it intact. Right, okay. Excellent. Right. Oh, yeah, there you go. Can you see that's just been pushed in? Look. So you can see that clicks. That clicks. But that doesn't, because it's been clicked in. So we're going to have to take the tape off that and try to pop it out the other way. It's not the nicest design, this little bit, is it? But I suppose these buttons don't get a huge amount of use compared to the controller buttons. Doesn't look bent, does it? Maybe if I just give it a little force that way. Right, will that work? All we're doing is shorting these pins here with that one. Nah. That's annoying. There we go. I think that will do. So the clicky button is now clicky again, so I need to sellotape it back into place and then we can test it to see if it's working. Right, where do the pins go to? We should be able to measure them on the ribbon cable. So let's get our meter in continuity. Right, I've got help here now, so let me just double check. This outer one. Maybe the outer one goes to the second one along. Second one along to here. So let's go between here and here. Right, Ben, would you press that button in there for me? Is it still pressed in?
Yep.
Why is that not working? Right, okay. Now press in this button here. Interesting. Okay, cheers, Ben. Wow, so yeah, okay, I'm going to have to take all these off. These are not working. How weird is that? Okay, let's see if the actual traces are okay. So, what have we got? So, no, it is going up that way. Look at that, though. Why is that not working there? What is going on? Ah, the crack. Of course, that completely went out of my head. The crack. There you go, it's got a massive crack in it, hasn't it? So that's the reason that one over here is not working. That makes sense. Why is this one here not working? So let's see what's going on here. Is it just because, look, these are oxidized? Can you see? They look slightly stained. See that? Can you see the difference there? Look at that one. That might be why. Right, so that goes around here to here. And it's getting there. So this one goes to here. And it's getting there. But yet when we were pressing that button, it wasn't working. No, right, let's clean them up. So what am I going to do here now? I have got to... How am I going to do this? Because the actual things are sitting on here. So I mean, it would still work if it was just those two and that. It would probably just work with one and that, but it would be nice to have all three of them connected, because then you know it's going to be okay. So the reason this is not getting over to here, this one here, is because there's a break here. And yeah, we've got a break across here and a break going up this way here as well. So it looks like what's happened now is, because, well, we know what's happened now, don't we? We know that the load game, this one here, sorry, the game select was not clicking. And because it wasn't clicking, it got pressed harder and harder and harder and harder until it stopped working. So this must have failed a long, long time ago. That's what's happened there. These two kept on clicking, but then this was just whacked down harder and harder and harder and harder because it wasn't working. And then it broke completely because the board snapped. Right, okay. Anyway, we'll worry about that in a little bit to work out how we're going to fix that. Let's have a look at everything else. So the on and off switch should be fine. We can just clean up those contacts there. They're just to join, for example, these contacts to here. That's what's happening here, because normally it would sit there with these prongs here, but then when it goes all the way over here, it's joining these pads to these pads. So we know that's going to be okay if we just clean that. Right, let's see what we got here. We got socketed chips, which is nice, isn't it? That is very, in fact, they're all socketed. Look at that one there, and that one, and that one. These ones aren't. So I presume some of these, or one of these, is going to be the RAM that the cartridge loads onto. Would it be that one there? Can we see where these go down to? Cartridge pins mostly go to this chip here. Well, actually, to be fair, they do go other places, but look, most of them go into here. Yeah, most of them do go into here. So I bet you that's the RAM there. Should we zoom in and have a look at the chips? So that's that one there. That I'm going to guess is the RAM, but I don't really know, do I? That one there. Oh, this must be the voltage regulator. Emitter, collector and base. Not so sure. That was that capacitor. It looks like it's leaked. Right, I think what we should do is, Let's change out that capacitor because it's definitely leaked. Have any of the others leaked? No. Let's clean up the cartridge slot. Let's possibly take this one apart, if I can find the screws to take it apart. And let's see what's in here and also clean up the pins here. But the main thing we have to do is work out what we're doing here, which I'm still not 100% sure about yet. So first things first, let's see if I've got one of these capacitors. Right, it's 25 volt, 10 microfarads. Now, I suppose it would be a good idea to recap it all. It's just that we don't really know whether or not it's going to work properly or whether that's going to be the... I don't want to just recap it for the sake of recapping it. I think I'm just going to do this one because I've seen it's faulty. I can worry about recapping it at a later stage if it's not working. Oh, wow. Look at the writing here. How good is that? This is Hong Kong, isn't it? Ah, so sometime in the 1970s. How good is that? If anybody knows how to translate that, that would be great. Shall I see if Google Translate will do it? 1 second. Imagine if it said something rude. Oh, that's a shame. I thought it might pick up something. It's coming up with numbers every now and then. But I don't know if it's just trying to read numbers off these other components. Oh well, if there's any of my viewers that can read China, it must be Chinese, mustn't it? Then please let me know what that says. Right, let me get a capacitor. I'm just waiting for my soldering iron to heat up. I've got my capacitor here. This one is a 50 volt 10 microfarad. That's fine because it's higher voltage. There could be an issue if it was lower voltage, but it's the same capacitance, just higher voltage. So that is fine. Now, what are these wires doing here? Where do they go off to? Ah, right, these are, okay. So, this is just the RF cable coming out, feeding the TV. This wire here is the one actually feeding the RF modulator with the signals from the board. So there might be an issue here. So I'm wondering, would the grey wire be for audio and the black wire for the picture? And then it goes into here and modulates it onto the one cable. I wonder whether this would be easy to do an AV mod on. All filled with wax there, isn't it? I didn't realise before, I thought this kind of coil was faulty, but I was told in another video I did that in the factory they moved this coil to get the picture perfect. There's a capacitor here. I wonder, was it not loading up because, for example, of a capacitor issue? Maybe it's not an RF issue. That's soldered there, that's soldered there. That all looks okay. The very fact it's tuning in says to me that we're nearly there. Right, let's pop this capacitor out. Right, so the negative is... oh, it's marked up anyway, it's marked up on the board. Yeah, we've got a little plus sign here, so I know that the negative is this side. Melting really easy, so again I presume this is going to be leaded solder with something this age. Look how easy that came out. Right, let's get our new one in. Minus side is the shorter leg. Just think of minus, shorter. The negative side. Okay, right, that's the new capacitor soldered in. Let's just see what this old one is measuring. So it should be 10 microfarad. Ah, pretty good. It's measuring 11. Let's see what the ESR is on it. Right, so 25 volts, 10 microfarad. Maximum it should be is 5.3. And, well, when I first put that on, it was much higher. It's all over the place. Make sure we got a good connection. No, to be fair, it's in spec. It's in spec. But anyway, it's leaked. It is a bit weird how it seems to be jumping around the place. Oh well. Probably wasn't anything to do with that, but it's leaked, so there's no harm to change it. Let's connect up. We've got 4 wires here from the power supply connector. So let's connect it up and see what's happening, see if I can get any measurements from here. In fact, look, we have a load of diodes here, don't we? But this is DC, so it's not converting it to... No! It's AC! I read that as DC because it says DC over here, but look, it says AC. So these are bridge rectifiers to convert it into DC, so when it goes into the board. I bet they are. There you go, 7.4 volts. And we're supposed to have 8.5 and 14.5. Let's go on to these ones. 18. But then again, when it's under load, I suppose it will be different. 1.8 there. 10 there. Yeah, okay. Well, that power supply is definitely definitely pumping out kind of the correct voltage. Obviously, I don't know about when it's under load or not. All right, so I think that's okay. I think what we should do is clean and fix this and then see what happens. That's what I think we should do. Right, so let's fix this up first of all. So what's the best way of doing this? So I've got to be careful because we've got to have the buttons on here, so I can't just run the wires from there. I'm going to have to bypass the wires, go from here to here. So this one is slightly awkward, not because it's in a small confined space. There's plenty of room to work. It's just that I have to allow these buttons to click. And you see, if I start running bridging wires, then it's going to block up some of the buttons from clicking down because the shape of the metal clicky buttons will be sat on top of some of the brakes. So my initial thinking is to just scrape back over the cracks and then add solder to those cracks. Obviously, that's not going to last long, it's going to crack again. But then I was thinking, if I was to solder the buttons in place, it will kind of bind it together, and then it will be a better contact, because at this moment in time, they're just sellotaped into place, and we're just relying on the pressure, the stickiness from the sellotape holding it down. So I solder one of the buttons down, but it's only when I solder them down I realised then it doesn't click no more, because it kind of makes sense. In order for the middle part to click down, the edges have to lift up ever so slightly. You can't really notice this, but I suppose with sellotape there's a bit of give in there. So when it clicks down, it allows the edges to lift up. But when you're soldering it down, you're pinning it down in 3 corners. It's not going to click. So annoyingly, that was that plan out of the window, so I had to come up with something else. So I went with my initial plan again, which was just basically bypassing, so scraping back parts off the track and then just running wires, enamelled wire, from one part to another. So then we've bypassed the cracks in the board, but this will still allow the buttons to click and there will still be full continuity everywhere, because I'm just bypassing the tracks with little jumper wires. I'm using enamelled wire, so it doesn't matter if they do hit against each other, they're enamelled, so they're insulated from each other. And I've used quite thick wire as well, because luckily on this one, it's an old product, we have plenty of room, so it's not like trying to work on a MacBook or a Nintendo Switch or something. This is just a joy to work on. Now, to fix the crack at the back, I can't fix it, but what I will do is I will put epoxy all over it. So this is like a 2-part glue that you mix together. It stinks, but it does set pretty hard. Now, what Anonymous Repair told me, along with others, is that when you have a crack on a board, it's going to keep on cracking unless you drill a hole. If you drill a hole, the crack can go no further. I remember that from the Roberts Boombox video that I did. Unfortunately, I don't really have small enough drill bits. I need to get some because this isn't the first time where I've needed small drill bits. So I will have to buy some. But in this instance here, some of the cracks are heading towards some of the holes anyway. So by chance, they might just end up at one of the holes. But I think it's going to be all right. I've put a lot of epoxy on the back. In this instance, I don't think the cracks are going to travel too much further because hopefully when I put it all back together, it will click in nicely and me or a future user won't need to be pressing that button really, really hard. So that's what you've seen in all this fast-forwarded video part now. And now we need to move on to something else. There we go. Well, I'm going to let that dry and then let's take apart the cartridge and give everything a nice good clean with IPA. Right, so it looks like there's a little screw here and a screw here. Now I should just put a cotton bud up and clean it. It's just because of the Atari cartridges and the Mega Drive cartridges, I'm curious as to what is inside these. Oops. I was hoping that was going to come out better than that. It's all bashed in anyway. You can see there's a massive lump of paint up here. Everything vintage always has dots of white paint on. I think it's from people rollering the ceiling. Is it just a two? Oh, there's going to be two up the top as well. Yeah, here and here. Right, what will it be? Just a one chip? Let's see. Yes. Oh, two little screws as well. Again, the maker's mark. Loads of these pins are not soldered. Check that out. Look at that, just two there and one there for the bottom. And just that middle section there up the top. Oh, and that one. That's just the ground though, isn't it? That looks like... Hold on a minute. That's not the Commodore logo, is it? 1 second. No, that's the Commodore logo. Looks like a little Pac-Man, doesn't it? Right, that's the chip there in case anybody's interested. SBB2616P Q7937MO. Right, let's give these little pins here a clean with the magic eraser again. Okay, and now I'm going to clean it all with some IPA, isopropyl alcohol. Right, now we just got our IPA, the cartridge slot, and things like the AC adapter at the back. And yeah, that's it really then, and also the RF connector as well. Well, I've cleaned the RF connector, I've cleaned the cartridge slot, I've cleaned the cartridge, and we fixed up this here. It still feels a little bit tacky on this side, so it's not fully dry, but I think we're ready to test it now. Right, that's put together enough to test it. I can put all the screws in later and give it a nice good clean. Right now, yes, they both click. I know that doesn't sound as loud, but listen, that's definitely clicking down, and it wasn't doing that before. Right, let's plug it back into the TV, see if we have any life. All right, here we go. Make sure we're on the correct input. We are. Analog TV. Let's try it without the cartridge. Let's see if it's going to load up this time. Yes, it is. Excellent. It didn't do that before, did it? Picture doesn't look the nicest. I might have to fine tune that in a bit, but it didn't do that before. Right, okay, let's turn that off and let's plug this in. Now, let's see if it will turn on without hitting load. No, so it did do that before, didn't it? I think it was the white screen. So now let's do load program. Ah, there we go. I only had to hit it once though. Game select. 2. It's working. 3. Excellent. Yeah, and there's 10 different. Oh, do you know, I like this. Right, I'm going to try to tune it in a bit better because it doesn't look, I mean, if you look at that, that doesn't look nice at all. Let's just see if it is. This looks good though. Look at Grand Prix. Oh, this reminds me of Grand Prix on the Spectrum and also on the arcade as well, where you had the lovely wheel that you could just spin. It would spin forever. Ah, yes, right, okay, start. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. Right, okay. Brilliant. Let me try to tune it in better, and then I need to see if these controllers are working. And then, yeah, what I can do is we can give this a nice clean up and see if we can get rid of the obligatory white paint splot and make it look nice again. Ah, fantastic. Right, I've tuned it in. It's a little bit better, but it's still not a great picture at all. That could be this TV. This one's a little bit funny with RF. But anyway, let me put down the volume because it's annoying sounds. There's quite a few problems with it still. So if you have a look at this controller here, the car on the left is the blue and the car on the right is the green. Now with the blue one here, you can see that when I go left it goes left, and when I go right it goes right. When I go forward it's racing against the other cars there. Yeah, that one's working fine. That feels okay, I think. Yeah, but now look at this one here. Not working. But sometimes when I wiggle the lead, I'm wiggling the lead with my finger now, it kicks into life. So I think we've got a bad connection here. Also, I can't get it to load up. So it looks like there's a problem with this one here. I can't get it to load up the initial screen anymore. So when I turn it off here and take this out, it's not loading up to that game. Okay, well, it's done more that time. Let's do start. Load. But the last few times I've tried it, it was just a load of fuzz. So it's not loading the internal game. Remember, it looked like kind of Pong or something. So I think we need to take it apart and see what's going on. Let's take it apart. A couple of screws at the back here. What's really interesting is it was working as a proper, not this one. This one was working as a proper analog stick. So you move it a small bit, it goes a small bit. So that was nice. So I'm presuming this has gone just here, because when I used to wiggle it there, it used to kind of come back a bit. Really enjoying this fix so far. And this must be clipped together because it's still not coming out. Oh, there we go. Now it is. Oh, look at that. Yeah, look, two big potentiometers. Oh, now these are nicely made. Look at these. Nintendo should take a leaf out of this book here. With the stick drift, look at that. Now that is nicely made, isn't it? I bet you they would last longer. I wonder what, because the Alps ones are rated for however many it is. I can't remember how many movements it is now. 500,000, is it, or 1 million movements? But that goes quick. I wonder what these are rated for. Isn't that lovely? So there you go, an old-fashioned analog stick. Are these just all clicky buttons under here like these ones? Here we go. Okay, they're clicky buttons. I don't need to take them off because, as far as I know, they work. I'm saying that, I don't know if they work or not because the game I've got was just all analog stick related. Let's put this back into place, see if they all click. Yeah, they're all clicking. Right, wire time. So really what I need to do is I need to push this wire through further, and then I'm going to have to resolder it all, aren't I? So let's get the soldering iron on. Now this is some kind of strain relief boot, but I'm not quite sure how it works. Right, okay, after struggling with this for ages, basically what you have to do is, oh, that pink wire's just come off. You have to squeeze that down here. This is like the separate bit here. You squeeze it down and it comes out this way. I was trying to push it in, but it comes out this way. So this is the bit here that clamps down. It's very nicely made. This clamps down onto the actual cable in there, this bit here. So it's a decent little strain relief, that. Yeah, that's very nice. Okay, I know for next time. I made a bit of a mess of that one. Right, okay, so I'm going to have to take a photo of this, and then I'm going to have to resolder it in the same position. But I'm going to strip the wire quite a bit back, probably to here somewhere, so I've got a nice bit of fresh cable, because this is where it's gone. In fact, what would have made a lot more sense if I was just to cut the wires like so, because this is all scrap now anyway, and then I wouldn't have had to take the photo. Or if I was to lose the photo, I would still know where things are. Right, okay. Let's actually see if we can find out where the break is. Okay, well they all ripped there. Now obviously they weren't all faulty, but I think that was the weak spot, which is, can you see, exactly on the strain relief. So can you see this band here? Yeah, look at the band there, that's where the strain relief was, and look, when I pulled them they all snapped there. So yeah, obviously they weren't all broken there, but it was me pulling it, but you can see that's where the weak spot was. So I have to strip the cable back probably about 4 inches or so, and then separate out each of the wires, strip a little bit at the end of each of the wires and tin them up with solder. Then I need to pass them through the strain relief again, click that into place, and then solder each of the wires to the same position that they were in before. I've got the phone guide for that, so that's nice and easy, the phone photo. Then after I've done all that, what I do is I get some deoxit and I put it into the potentiometers just to give them a nice little bit of a clean. They might not have ever been cleaned and there might be a bit of wear in there and stuff, or dirt or grime. So by putting a bit of deoxit in, it will just clean it up. And then I need to put them all back together and screw them back into place. I've taken apart the other controller as well just to clean that with deoxit. Hopefully they might be both working, but we won't know that until we start using them. Right, we'll put them back together and we'll give them a quick test of the game, and then we'll look back at the unit again and see what's happening with this internal game. Do you know what would be a funny video? I'm pretty sure it will get a lot of views as well. If I was to make some custom Joy-Cons or a Pro controller with these analog sticks. Imagine how big they would be. But they're non-centering. That could be fun though. Got me thinking now. Should I do that? Just be a bit of a clickbaity video, but it would get a lot of views, wouldn't it? I've solved Nintendo's problem. Stick drift. That would get loads of views. Thing is though, I think a lot of people would take it seriously and then it'd probably get a lot of hate. That would be fun though, wouldn't it? Seeing these big things on it. Food for thought. Right, let's plug it back into the TV, see if they're working. You ready? Check this out. So this is the left-hand one. This was the one that was working before. You can see trying to dodge the cars going up the screen. I'm that blue car at the bottom. And full-on analog, small movements. Every time you hear that bashing noise is when I crash and it goes up. See, 26, 27, it goes up there. Now, watch this one. It's working. And again, analog, yeah? This is the green one. That one there. Do you know what? I think this game could have playability. Oh. Yeah, even if you crash into the sides. Yes, that's really good, you know. Even when you crash into the sides, it counts up. And it slows you down as well. Every time you crash, you slow down. It's incredibly hard. But it's working. Right, so that's another thing fixed. Now, let's find out what's happening with this weird boot thing. Well, I've been looking online And it's not just a case of not being able to find any schematics. I can't actually find anything about this internal game. I've been typing in ACETRONICS, the model number here, built-in games, internal games, nothing. Watched a few YouTube videos, nothing that I can see on these internal games. I even typed in the original, maker of this, the Radafin 1292. Built-in games, internal games, it's not there whatsoever. But I'm not dreaming. We seen it on screen earlier, didn't we? A Pong looking thing that said 0 or 60 with two things on either side. So I don't know what's going on, but it is working consistently now every single time with the built-in games. I don't know not the built-in game, with the cartridge. Does this actually have a built-in game or not? Or is that just some sort of landing page? I don't know. I've been looking through the board here and I have found something that doesn't quite look right. So we've got this chip here and there's corrosion on one of the pins, this PE1X. And if you have a look, can you see the fourth pin up here is green? Can you see there? Let me zoom right in on that. There, you can see corrosion here and also down here as well. Now, I'm not saying that is the fault. That's the only thing I've found so far on the board. But if we zoom out a little bit, it looks like it's important because, well, I suppose everything is important. But if you see here, we've got the crystal, which is this one here, going underneath to, I think, here. These 2 points here. And if you have a look, it goes into this chip here. Yeah. Now the fourth pin up from this side, 1, 2, 3, 4 is, sorry, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4 is this one here. It goes along and it goes into one of these resistors, which then goes down to here, which travels. You see these are all connected, which travels to here, which then goes across the resistor here and comes up here into the second pin, I think, on this big chip here. So the second pin on this side. So I think the corroded part there works its way across to the second pin here. Now I took this chip out here. These pins all look okay. This one I don't want to mess with, but there's little connections here that kind of clip off, and then but the thing is, it's a ceramic chip, so I don't want to force it up. This feels much colder than any of the other chips. This is kind of like a plastic, but here this is really cold. So this looks like a ceramic chip. But look, this one here definitely lifts up. So I'm going to clean the corrosion just in case that's what the problem is. So here is the green stuff. Now I don't know where it's come from, because there's no like leaking capacitors or anything here. Look at this thing here. This looks like one of those airspace capacitors that I've seen before in a radio that I did. And I'm not saying it is that, but it looks really unusual. I don't think I've seen that on a circuit board before. It's nice though, isn't it? Yeah, so we've got corrosion here. So I'm going to clean that. And if we look at the chip, can you see we've got a tiny little mark? Where are we now? There's a little mark just on the leg, just here. There. Here. So maybe that wasn't making a contact. So that clock signal or something. Well, the clock signal's going into this chip, but whatever that pin is on pin 2, maybe it's not making. There you go. Look, that's definitely corroded. So I'm going to clean this up with some IPA and scrape it back, and I'm hoping then it'd be amazing if it just works after that. I've enjoyed this one so much because there's been a mixture of faults, but there have been faults that you can kind of get your head around. Love to know where that leaked from though. And we've only found one leaking capacitor on the board, haven't we? And this would be unlikely to have any work done on it in the past. I say I'm probably the first one in there. So we found corrosion on the leg of the chip and also definitely corrosion on a leg of a capacitor. So I think it would be a good idea to change out the capacitors in this because they're all going to be the same age. and there's not many of them, so it's actually not going to be a big job. They're nice and easy to come out because it's all leaded solder. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm not going to buy any capacitors if I haven't got the values, but I have got 2 kits, so I'm pretty confident I will be able to swap most of them out. Then what I need to do is put it all back together and we can do the final test. The more I'm looking up about this machine, the more I'm realising that that isn't an inbuilt game. I don't know what it is, but nobody's mentioned anything about an inbuilt game, so I think that was a bit of a red herring that I've been chasing. I think now what that probably is to do with when you first of all get it, maybe it's just there so you can tune it into the TV, so you can visibly see something that's tuned in rather than just having a white screen. I suppose it would be less likely for somebody to send it back as faulty if when they tune it in they can see something on the screen rather than seeing a white screen. I think that's what that is there for, but obviously if I'm wrong, please correct me down in the comments below. To begin with, I was sure it was a game, that's why I've been chasing this fault, but I don't believe it is a fault whatsoever. But anyway, it's hopefully by doing all this and doing the capacitors and stuff, I'm hoping then it will all work properly each and every single time, while before it was a little bit hit and miss. Ta-da! We finished! So, how is it looking? Well, it's a clean console. I wouldn't say it's in good condition. There's quite a few cable burns around it and there's a bit of paint wear and stuff, but it certainly looks clean and tidy, and more importantly, it is working. So I've been testing different things. As far as I can see, it all works. I've convinced myself now that initial page is just like a page for tuning in. I can only get the page up when it's been turned off for more than a minute. If you turn it off and on again straight away, you get the white screen, which is the same as you get when you have a cartridge in it. So yeah, I think that is purely for tuning it in, because think about it, when somebody tunes it in, they're going to turn it on and they're going to tune it into the TV. Yeah, and they're not going to tune it into another TV, are they? So it doesn't need to have that screen on it all the time. So watch this now. This has been off for more than a minute. So if I turn it on, it's working every single time now. There you go. Yeah, so it comes up there, and if I turn it off and back on again, that will just be a white screen. But if I leave it for a minute, it will come back again. There you go. Okay, now let's just leave it for a minute just to prove it, because I spent so much of the video wondering about it. There we go, a minute's up, and now if I turn it back on again, you will see it will come up with that screen again. There we go. 8080, or Bobo if you like. Right, every single time I put the game in, it works. So yeah, very happy with how this is performing. So you'll see we've got the white screen, and then all we have to do is go to load program. Both of the controllers are working, and there is a 1-player mode on this as well. So let me just show you both of the controllers. So if I go to start, you will hear, let me get some volume on it. It's quite a playable little thing. Right, so this is the left hand one, and you will see that I'm the blue car here. And it's good because if I don't push it forward, it will go, you can match basically the speed of the other cars depending on how much you push this forward. And the objective is obviously to not crash. So you can see now I'm using a nice bit of control, and then when I have a bit of open space, I can floor it. There you go, right past them all. Yeah, that's that one there, and this one here is the green one on the right hand side. And again, you can see now, nice control. Let's just slow it down a bit. So you can see how it could possibly be a little bit of fun. Getting the scores, obviously the lower the score, the better it is. Right, okay, now, game select. This is the 1-player one. Starts here, and if you look here, I'm the blue car here. But I like the way you can just suddenly accelerate. But that's good. And check this out, this is a particularly hard game. This one here is, I would say, near enough impossible. So start here, but it would be good to get used to it. So we go forward, I'm the green car, and then to turn the corner, we turn left. No, where do, hold on, 1 second. But I still have to go forward, you know what I mean? It's kind of like Micro Machines, but much harder. I don't think it helps by not having the centering joystick. Ah! That's definitely one that would need a lot of practice. God, I'm awful at it. Turn. Forward. Go on forward. I can't even go forward. Right, yeah, it's got potential. What am I doing? Game select. The RF signal doesn't look good. This really could benefit from an AV mod. Watch this one here. One player on this here. Start. You've got to follow the road round without crashing. Without going too well. Obviously, you can go fast, but it gets harder. Now you can see how late 70s, how this would be a great present for someone. I'm doing good. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, almost professional. So there we have it. Let's just do game select to stop it being noisy. I really enjoyed that one. So what did we have? To begin with, it didn't seem to be loading properly. Some of that was user error because I wasn't hitting the load button program twice, but it still wasn't loading up every time, while now it is loading up every time. Out of all the caps that I took out, there was only one that was not testing correct on the capacitance and also the ESR. The controller here wasn't working because we had a bad connection on the wire here, and the main thing was the crack on the board here, so we had to do a little bit of work to make it good there. So all in all, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a charming little device, and yeah, I'm hoping you enjoyed the video too. If you did, give it a massive thumbs up, and please subscribe for lots of different trying to fix videos and the odd how-to video thrown in there as well. Look after yourselves, everyone. Take care.